Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels to short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh my gosh. We're back in a normal time.
We're on time. We're here. Everything's working. I like it.
Hilarious. Hilarious. We got a fun show today. But you know,
we got a lot of fun topics here.
We do. We got a lot to talk about over this past weekend. But more so for everybody that's joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. Always like to hear who is joining in the live. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I was just saying I got a lot going on because I'm in both worlds. I'm in the hotel world a lot of the time. I've got the vacation rental world a lot of the time. So it's not like split 50-50. I get to be in both. So it's busy in both. And I'm planning a trip, a last minute trip here. So I need some help. Okay. This is next weekend. And it's for my family. So I got 2 young kids. And we're trying to debate between the cities that, like aren't the biggest cities, but between New Orleans and Charleston. Okay. Weekend trip. Leave Friday, come back Monday. And so I put it through ChatGPT. It's giving me some things. And then I started using Threads a lot more. Instagram's Twitter, right? We would say.
Yeah.
So I started using Threads and I put it on there. It got very heated about the 2 cities. Like people trash talking each other.
Very strongly, huh?
Yeah, some people trashing New Orleans and people that live there saying, no, it's the better city for families because we have the zoo and the aquarium and jazz music and cool things for kids and beignets. And then Charleston is saying that they're the better. Yeah, they're saying they're the better city because they have more culture and it's Southern hospitality there and good restaurants. And just it's always rated #1 by Travel and Leisure for a reason. So it's I'm curious to see what you think because we haven't talked about this. Where
I've been to both. I've been to both places.
I've only been to New Orleans. I've never been to Charleston.
I was just in Charleston in November. So
we did a live show. We did a show from there.
Yeah, exactly. We all know I was there. I would say I would lean towards Charleston. I think that it's just a little bit more family friendly. Not to say that New Orleans couldn't be that. You obviously seek that out. I feel like maybe when your kids are a little bit older, that could be appropriate. Because it, there is a, wild side to New Orleans. So, which is kind of like part of it. And I was just trying to think, even like the temperature wise, it's super hot. And I know it's warm, obviously, where you guys are now, but
I've been training in Miami. We're trained. We're ready. We have heat advisories every day.
New Orleans heat, though. Oof. I was there in the summertime and I was just, yeah. But also Charleston is going to be super warm too. So that's why I was trying to see if there's.
All right. I think it might be Charleston. What do you all say out there? New Orleans or Charleston? Let us know your vote. Who is our friend in Charleston? I may have to just say hello when I start.
Carlo, you are definitely going to have to go say hi to Carlo at the Spectator Hotel.
I think that I am leaning to Charleston more and more because I haven't been. My kids have never been to either because they're young.
They have a really great food scene. Super cool food scene. You can ride bikes everywhere. Again, not to say that there aren't cool things to do in New Orleans, but because New Orleans does have some cool museums. But I feel maybe in the next 2 years you could do that with them.
We can always do it. They're all close from Miami. They're about all an hour and a half flight, so we're good.
So all an hour and a half versus me being over here on the West Coast.
On the West Coast, we have a lot of cool stuff there.
Oh yeah, there's.
We were talking about Denver. So Will Slicker's in the back. My daughter wants to see snow. She's like, "Where is there the most snow?" So Denver might be something in the winter. We come over.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, maybe not now.
Not now, but in the winter.
For snow.
Anyhow, I appreciate you all helping me plan my trip.
Yeah.
I will keep you all updated. If you want to join on Threads and see the intense conversation, you can follow me over there too. It's been a fun little community built over there.
I love that. Interesting. Look at you dabbling in the whole Threads world. Oh, goodness.
That was a good over there.
Oh yeah. No, well, it's cool to just see like people like really get into the hype. Actually, we're going to talk about a topic a little bit later today that I even just posted about in a story yesterday. And man, did people have comments for me, but it was more like my DMs, which got a little bit exhausting. I was like, oh, can you do this in a public
Yes,
forum so the
please.
other people can respond to my behalf? Like, it's crazy. Well, why don't we go ahead and dive into our topics? You
Let's do it.
down?
I'm down.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Cool. So this is kind of big news in the world of Hyatt. We love our friends
Mhm.
over at Hyatt. They're sort of in advanced talks to acquire Standard hotels. I love this because I don't know how many people know this, but the original Standard Hotel is probably like no joke, 5 blocks that
Oh yeah.
direction from
Cool.
where I live, which is no longer Standard. It's might reopen as a public hotel, whatever. But it was like the first iconic location, and so it's so interesting when you have the first location. You're like, okay, what's going on with the brand? Like, it is a brand; people are familiar with it. So I love that it looks like Standard is getting pretty close to buying. I mean, Hyatt is getting pretty close to buying Standard because it's a fun brand and it should continue to be out there.
Yeah, I
Um,
love the brand. Like just like how it's close to you. It's a mile and a half for me, the Miami Beach one. I
yeah,
jog and walk over there. It's probably the best view out of any hotel
yeah.
in the city because there's not many waterfront restaurants in the city, which is crazy. So it's like the
Oh,
place that I love going to. And it's a really popular, but you're right. It's just kind of, it reminds me of like the brand, the Viceroy. Like I used to work for Viceroy, great
mhm.
brand. It kind of died
Yeah,
off a little bit, just couldn't get going anymore.
yeah.
And I think now that Highgate owns it, they're putting money behind it and they're growing that
Mhm.
brand. And now they're making the residences again. And Standard has their residences being built here in Miami too. As their
Oh,
first
okay.
venture into residences. But
Oh my gosh.
I think it's a brand that should spread. It's fun. It's a cool brand. I love the vibe of the place.
Well, it's interesting as you're kind of like talking about that, and then you even briefly talked about like Viceroy. I know a lot of people are like, oh, but they don't want it to get diluted by having these bigger companies acquire them. But I mean, in just the economic climate and just it just almost makes better business sense so that we can still have these options for these more maybe they're more boutique feeling type of places. But I mean, obviously they need that sort of big brand power behind them so that they can grow and we can have these brands in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So I
And use
mean,
that booking engine of Hyatt, of the Hyatt
yeah,
rewards to get people in this place. I think it would
World of
fill up
Hyatt.
very quickly. But we see
Mhm.
it like the Graduate Hotel we talked about. I forget who bought
Yeah,
it, Marriott or Hilton. Hilton, we've
totally.
got with
Hilton.
Nomad
Yeah,
Hotels, right? We're seeing all
yeah,
these
Hilton
brands get,
also.
right? All these brands are getting purchased. And
Mhm.
so, one, I like seeing it because it shows people if you can build a cool brand, the big
Yeah,
companies aren't really experts at building cool, fun brands that gain loyalty really quickly. So they end
yeah.
up buying it. So for me, we've been dabbling and talking about that a little bit here on our teams is do we
Mhm.
start venturing into that world, create a really cool brand?
Yeah,
Because you never know. You might be getting purchased by one of the big three and
maybe.
get the engine behind it. So let's
Totally,
see.
not a
I
bad
like
place
seeing
to
it.
be. Yeah,
I
no,
like
I do
seeing
too. I think it's really cool. All right, our next topic here. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
it.
Robotic massages have arrived at luxury hotels, and spoiler alert, they're actually good. Or so that's what this particular article was saying. Have you ever had a massage from a robot?
I have. And so
Wait,
what's interesting, yes. And it's not
talk to
like
me.
the massage chairs that you sit there and it
No, no,
shakes
no, no, no,
you
no, no.
back
That's
and
not no.
forth. Now this one, I saw this
No, we're not
article, I
doing
wanted to make
sharper
sure.
image stuff,
No,
okay?
it's not Sharper Image or Brookstone from the old days in
That's
the
what
mall,
it is. Oh my god, thank you.
right?
Hilarious.
It was both, but I used to love sitting in those chairs. But
Me
this
too.
is really taking it to a different level where, it feels like a human is massaging you, right? And
Mhm.
it is doing the whole thing, and you can choose from different types of massages. So like, an elevated experience of this. But I've been through one slightly different at the Carillon Wellness Resort here in Miami Beach,
Okay.
where
All right.
they have a whole no touch from human circuit. And so you go through it and you start in their cryotherapy chamber, then you go to a red light bed, then they put you on this, it looks like a water bed,
Okay, yeah.
and it has music that's going, and all of a sudden you start getting shot with all these different jets, and it feels like someone's massaging you. You leave that and go into what I like to call the electric chair, but it's an electrostimulation. I thought people were touching me because the way they
Oh,
shoot
really?
electrodes into your back, it feels like someone's pushing you and massaging you all throughout your back
Oh,
using electricity.
fascinating. All right.
So I left feeling great that day, and I didn't have no human touch me. Even though I do like going and getting a traditional massage, I'm a massage nerd. I like going to all the different
Yeah, yeah.
spas. It was unique, and so I could see like if you're short staffed, this thing doesn't call out sick. It's always there. Make it happen. They charge a
It
little
doesn't
less, get some people
call
through it.
out sick. No.
I'm just saying, if you're running an operation and you're short on spa therapists, which a lot of spas are,
They are. You're
might
right.
be it.
You're right. It's so interesting. Yeah, I actually haven't had one. I would totally be down for it. There's been a place in New York that I've had a lot of good friends of mine that live in New York City. They've done something where it's like the machine comes down and it actually like kind of like massages
Yeah, like
them.
it looks like it.
Yeah,
I'll send you the
totally,
video of
totally.
this one. This one is very cool, and it does. It does. There's some limitations because they don't have thumbs right on here.
Yeah.
So they can't like focus on your knot and say, "Oh, that's where the knot is," right? Like how you like to say and
Yeah, 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 of
verbalize a
course.
human where you get. But for a all-around massage, this is what it can do right now.
That's wild. So when we're talking about this coming to the luxury hotel spaces, I mean, you've got Latte New York Palace. I mean, they're going to be the first hospitality partner for the brand Ascape, I guess is how you
Hmm.
pronounce that. But they're also are going to be exploring Equinox locations.
Makes sense.
And it's cool. It's cool to see because yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it will just look. It's a different option. You're always going to have some people that prefer like traditional massages, of course, but then, I mean, why not explore? I would certainly try it if it was at a spa where I go to normally, or even if I was on a trip, I would totally try it. So
Yeah, what was cool is the before and after what I went through. Like it wasn't
mhm,
just like me walking around through like the hallways. It was like very set up. Like
yeah,
someone came over, how would ask me my preferences, got me tea, got me some snacks, had the slippers and the robe, the whole vibe with the spa
yeah,
feeling. It wasn't like going through machines. What does Jim say? Sounds like something similar to a car wash experience, except for
I'm dying.
humans.
I'm dying. I love it. Love it.
Yeah, a little bit. But you're taken on a journey. Someone's taking you through a journey. So, but they're not touching you. It's the machines
Take
doing
me
it.
through the journey. Take me. I love this.
Yeah,
It's
so
fun.
let's see. I'm curious to see where it starts popping up, and if it can be at a little bit of a different price point, maybe it makes it more accessible for people. Because sometimes going to spa can cost a good amount of money when you're going.
Yeah, no, that's very true, especially like hotel spas. I mean, it definitely you're paying a premium for it.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
you walk
I
into
love
Massage Envy, and here you go,
I
Massage
know.
Envy.
I'm just dying at Jim's comment about saying it sounds like a car wash experience. Like I could see that. Yeah. All right. No hand wash here. Anyway. Moving on to our next topic here, talking about I'm saying he's our good friend. Like I'm best friends with him because I love this guy, Jose Andres. His group is expanding into more hotel restaurants. And there's even rumors of that they might be eyeing a standalone hotel brand. I love Jose Andres. I love his restaurants.
Yep.
It's so awesome to see what he's doing all over the place. And I think this is really cool. I mean, they've changed the game. I mean, I remember when he first came, at least to the LA area, and he at the SLS hotel, and he had Bazaar,
Hmm.
such a fun dining experience. I mean, he really changed just by that restaurant alone. That was a big splash in the LA dining scene. So I'm loving seeing this. What are your thoughts on that? I know you're a fan.
I'm a big fan of Jose Andres and the JAG group, the Jose Andres group.
Yeah.
I like their restaurants. I've been lucky enough to be in Miami where he's opened a ton of restaurants. We talked about it
Yes.
last week where I ate at
Yeah.
Zetinia at the Ritz Carlton, which
Yes.
was very
So
good.
good.
And I do miss the Bazaar. They used to be at the SLS, but it's no longer there.
I
There's rumors that
know.
it may reappear on South Beach soon.
Ooh.
But this is what I do like about this. I think Chef Nobu has done this very well because I worked for that group. Nobu
Okay.
restaurants, very
Yeah.
popular. We're putting their restaurants inside of hotels and then created their own hotel brand, the Nobu Hotel brand. And so I could see Jose Andres doing this very well, because then you control the whole experience, right? That's the one thing that happens when you have things that are outsourced, whether you're a restaurant in a hotel that you don't control, or the vice versa, you have the hotel, you don't control the restaurant. The whole flow gets a little messed up because you can't do everything you want. So I would love to see Jose Andres create his brand, because I could see it being bright, airy, fun vibes for
funky,
what they've got going
bright
on
colors.
there. Yeah, just like his personality, with a cool mini bar of different like tins that he would have, because he likes having all like the seafood and stuff in tins you could have in the room. I would love to see what he would get creative with, but he would do really well. I think if they can find the right place and set it up, and maybe even have a part of it tied to Central Kitchen, where every time you dine in the restaurants, Central Kitchen gets a little piece of it.
That'd be great.
Helps humanitarian.
Yep.
Listen, we're ready to go, Jose Andres. Our team can help you put this together.
Jose, let's go. You got two big fans over here. Actually, by the way, he's going to be the keynote speaker at the hospitality show later this year. So for those that are considering going to the big hospitality show that's going to be happening in San Antonio, Jose Andres is the keynote speaker. So super exciting. He always has great.
To go. I'm not
Maybe you have to go.
Aren't you on the board or something?
Yeah, I am on the board. That's why I do
Sarah.
this.
We're going to talk backstage. Let's go.
I mean, I'm just saying, I might know some people. Anyway, but definitely put the hospitality show on your radar. But what I also like about it is, we all know hotel restaurants are tricky, and I know that Steve, you know this more than others, but they're tricky because it's like, on one hand, you need to be able to provide for the hotel guests, and so there's a sort of like for lack of a better way of saying it, more of like a basic minimum that you need to be able to offer. But what makes a restaurant so fun is when they can do more creative things and like play with the menu and make it more of an experience. And so what's great with the Jose Andres group is that they do try to have like a larger holistic approach to their restaurants, even though they happen to be in hotels. So, I mean, I like that they're just like, they're laying the groundwork for a hotel brand. So it's smart.
Yeah, I love it. Look, as long as you get breakfast for everybody, that's what matters. And you can have some nice touches there. You need to make sure breakfast starts off good in a hotel, but everything else, I say, is free game, because people have a lot of choices to go places. And if you have a marketplace, even better. You could do some easy, basic stuff in the marketplace and put your twist. But dinner, lunch, I say go for it. Whatever you want to create, go for it.
I'm into it for sure. For sure. Okay, let's talk travel.
Let's do it.
I'm curious to see how many crazy stories you have. I certainly do. So for anybody that was not living under a rock, or I don't know, doing whatever, maybe you did a social media, cleanse over the weekend, and you might have missed finding out the big news in travel. There was basically a global tech outage that happened. Technically, it was late Thursday night into, depending on where you are, late Thursday night in LA, early Friday morning on the East Coast in the United States, that affected a lot of the major US airlines, not just them, but it also affected banks and other businesses, and even a bit, globally, but definitely a huge impact domestically. And it has been crazy just from being out do you actually know how long the outage was? I feel like it wasn't very long.
Well, I mean, it was out because you had to get your hands on computers. So that was out as long as your IT person couldn't fix it, right? It wasn't something
Oh, that's what it was.
So that's why it was so hard, was you had to actually have a physical person reboot computers a certain way to get it back up and running. And so that was what made it the biggest challenge. It wasn't just like, oh, let me push it through again. That's why everything shut down.
For sure, which was crazy. So, so for anybody that was traveling between Friday and maybe even still to today, it has been utter chaos at the airports. I mean, it's wild. And what was nuts is that even still yesterday, we'll see how today is. I'm flying out tomorrow with Delta, who has always notoriously been like the big best brands, as a lot of people say. Obviously, people have preferences, but they've always, been highly regarded. They've been struggling the most, which is wild. And they're going to have to pay some fines. So it's crazy. Have you heard of any crazy stories?
I've heard some crazy stuff. But I just want to say on this one, which was crazy to me, is that 6,500 flights were canceled, and that's
Yeah.
more than they had canceled in 2 years
Yeah.
previous, right? And so just
Yeah.
in 4-day span, it just shows you how much technology you lean on now for that, which is nuts. But I have some, like, even in my personal life, my wife had a big court case and she went to court, showed up Friday morning. They couldn't get the computers on, couldn't do
Oh,
anything,
wow.
don't have any manual backup. So it just shows you like how much people are leaning on these things now. And then I
Yeah.
was reading of like Universal Studios in Japan, where it first started kind of happening, was the whole park shut down. No rides could go. They couldn't take tickets.
Oh
They
my gosh.
couldn't buy any water, nothing. So I'm like watching it real time on X, I'll say, right? I was
Yeah.
watching everything going on, and I put a poll out just to my teams or my followers on LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
65% of them had no computers for the whole day inside of hotels. So imagine all the backup paperwork you have to do, checking people in. Rough couple
That
days for everybody out there. But I have
is
Apple, so I was up and running.
I mean, I have Apple too. So, and I luckily didn't have any clients traveling. So I didn't have to, that I was more worried about them and being on the ground and other things. But yeah, this was wild. Okay. So I'll give, I had two examples. I had a friend of mine who was flying out late Thursday night to Sydney, Australia, and ended up being stuck on a 20, so yeah, it was a 23-hour layover in LA because they couldn't do anything until late in the evening, Friday evening. Fine, but well, kind of fine. But because it happened so late in the night, and by the time I guess like everybody got the notification or the word or whatever, all of the immediate hotels close to LAX airport were full. And so that was wild. I had another friend of mine who, get this is crazy. This person has status with Delta. Okay. So they're like high up there, diamond status. And they were supposed to leave Friday morning from Boston to Las Vegas, direct flight, gets canceled, gets stuck in a hotel overnight Friday night, hotel overnight Saturday night, yet again. And by the way, all of this would require coming back to the airport and then things canceling. Stuck in the Boston airport Sunday night. Monday, he can't get on the direct flight, but they're like, okay, we'll put you through Detroit. He goes through Detroit, and he gets to Detroit, and then the Detroit to Las Vegas flight gets canceled. No airports or no airport hotels are available, has to figure that out. And then finally yesterday, Tuesday, gets back to Las Vegas. That is utter insanity. Utter
See, that's
insanity.
why I'm scared to fly. It's like, I'm telling you, it's hard. I get like myself, all right, I could deal with it. But when I got two little humans there and they don't understand why they can't, and they're like going back and forth, like it's tough out there traveling.
Yeah,
You just
it's
gotta go.
it's summertime. It's summertime. I mean, look, there's a couple of things that I guess it just depends. I mean, on schedule and what people can do. But yeah, it it was rough to see. And then people were sending me messages, and I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't really.
Control Delta.
Well, not even that, but it's like, I mean, aside from the like, have you tried to book yourself on another airline and just like,
Mhm.
just try to get yourself get yourself home. So that was just wild. But okay, so this is also the kicker with all of it, which is why they're getting some kind of a little bit of a slap on the hand from the Department of Transportation, is that it's the language that Delta is using. So we kind of, by the way, we kind of saw this with a lot of the big brands, like at the start of the pandemic, but they're basically saying, oh, you can like rebook for no additional cost, or they're basically trying to give everybody e-credits versus direct refunds. And that's where it's, yeah, that's
I
a
just
little
feel bad
messy.
for all the people working at the gates. That's what I feel bad for.
I know.
Right? 'Cause they have no control and they're just getting
They have no
crushed.
control. And by the way, like some of it's also just like because of that, then pilots were timing out, crew was timing out. So a lot of these cases, the flight was ready. They might have had pilots, but then they only had 2 out of the 4 required flight attendants, or they only had 1 pilot and they needed 2, whatever it is. Like, oh my gosh, how wild is that?
Yep. It's like we just got a ton of crazy stuff going on over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, crazy. Okay, you ready to talk about
Yeah, I like this
Venice?
one. I'm excited about this one.
I actually think this is great, and I'll tell you about the comments that I got in my DMs about this. So, we talked about this a couple months ago. So, Venice was going to do a sort of Venice, Italy, by the way. It was going to do a pilot program where, for over 29 days, basically between April 25th and July 14th, their highest visited days, they were going to impose a visitation tax. So it's just €5, a tourist tax, and for specifically for day trippers, because Venice obviously is a big destination for a lot of cruise lines, all that. So just on those days where it's just super busy, they would do this tourist tax, and in that amount of time, they were basically able to. What was it? They raised $762,000 from
That's what they
this.
expected. They expected to
Oh,
do
wait,
that,
that's what they expected. Yes,
and they did
and then so sorry about that.
2.64 million. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Sorry about that. So which is wild,
hmm
but also huge. What are your thoughts on this?
I love it. One, because look, the city is sinking. We see it always on social media, and they need tools to be able to battle against that. But to raise $2 million in 30 days, you just put that over the year, you get $24 million to improve the city and improve tourism, and just to enhance where the people are actually living. I think is great.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to see that in places where all the people are freaking out about over tourism. Like, we were talking about Barcelona shooting people with water guns, a couple
Yeah.
weeks
Yeah. Yeah.
ago. Like, I think this is good ways to do it. Like, I don't know about every city, but there are tourism taxes and
Yeah.
popular cities. Like when you check into a hotel, there's a tourism tax of a couple pennies that the city collects here and other
Totally.
places. But I like this, and I think that if they use this the right way, it will be beneficial. It's when all of the corruption starts popping in, like, oh, 2.64 million. How do I get my hands on that? Right.
Yeah.
That's where I think things can get out of control pretty quickly. But I would
I,
love to see, like we just talked about Spain. I think this would be good for a lot of the big cities, Paris, Barcelona, let's say London. I don't know about New York City, but I'm just saying that it's a way to control things, especially smaller
yeah.
places that have an influx of people.
I wouldn't say places like New York City. Again, I think it's more of like the smaller second tier cities or third tier cities. And I say that I I give the tears with love. But I think that because again, that's we've seen this issue come up. So I think it's totally fine, and it is it's a nominal fee. It can make a big difference. Obviously, hopefully it's spent accordingly in like the correct way to actually like help the city, but I'm not mad about it. I think it makes
No.
sense.
What was going on in your direct messages and the DMs? Were people for it,
Oh,
against it?
so well, I mean, here you say the T word, tax, and people get upset. I don't want to pay taxes, and it's like, calm down. They're like, people that were like, we pay enough taxes in the U.S. And I'm like, okay, calm
Well,
down.
that's
This is not
Italy.
about.
Yes.
This is not the U.S. It's not that type of conversation. So and then they were like, no, they should just be charging it. They're making enough money off of charging a tax on for hotels, like tours and things like that. So, but I'm also like, it's €5. Like, you're gonna be there anyway. Like, whether that's tacked on to your lunch bill or you pay it like upon entry. I don't even know how they're. Oh yeah, they have a whole thing about doing that. But I don't know. It's like it doesn't bother me. I mean,
Yeah. If they could beautify things using that money, I think that's the part I would like to see. Right. Just like we pay to get into national
oh,
parks here to maintain the national parks. I think that we can continue doing that with some of these places around the globe that are really important to history and culture.
I mean, I think about like, I mean, I've had to pay an additional fee to go to India. I think even to go into Argentina, like at different times, like they might not be requiring it now, but I've had to do this over the years. Like, even different other countries. Oh my gosh, I don't remember if it was Malaysia, um, or Indonesia, but again, like, fine. It's like it's
That's part
the
of what you do.
cost of it's the cost of doing business. Like, it's
I
the
like
cost
it.
of leaving
Let's
your
stay
house.
on top of them. We're going to stay on top of them. Make sure they're
I like
spending
it.
it the right way.
Yeah, no, perfect. Love this. All right. Let's get into that real-time recap. What have you seen out there in the live streets of hospitality?
All right. I've got one that might sound a little crazy here.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, bring it.
But
We
this
like
happened
crazy.
this weekend. I went to we won't trash the restaurant. We went to a restaurant. We sat
Uh-oh.
down, my family and I. we couldn't get service. We sat there for 21 minutes. And I said, I looked at my wife because like, we got to stand up and get out of here because we wanted to go do something after dinner.
Oof,
And
oof.
so we walked out. I just looked around, and right across from that restaurant was the Cheesecake Factory, which I have not been into for probably 10 years.
Dude, that
Okay.
menu is wild. Okay, keep going.
Went into Cheesecake Factory, greeted right away with a smile, had a choice of where to sit, sat us down. Server
Perfect.
came in within 30 seconds and greeted the table, got
Great.
us our drinks, did a great job upselling, got my
Uh-huh.
kids their food first, put it in first, then made suggestions to all of us on the things that we would like to eat. I ordered some food off their Skinnylicious menu, had
Very
my glass of
tasty.
wine delivered prior to my meal arriving. When
Okay.
my meal arrived, offered a refill to everyone at the table, finished the meal, checked in on us, and they asked a question which I liked was, how are the flavors today? Are you enjoying the flavors of your meals? And went through each plate.
That's
And I was
cool.
like, I'm like, look, I'm like, where am I sitting? This is like a 4 and 5-star experience. And then upsold us some delicious cheesecake on the way home. And I felt good. And I was like, I looked at my wife. I was like, this is a little crazy, right? This is a chain restaurant, but I just felt leaving very happy. So I'm now going to write a little something to like, you go back and look at some of the chains because that person was trained so well. I would hire them at any 5-star hotel because they
Yeah,
hit every single point we would check on a Forbes rating.
totally.
So shout out to the Cheesecake Factory over at Dolphin Mall.
Words that you never thought that you would say, but I will say this over
You know, we always get like a bougie, like, oh, we got to talk about the fancy restaurants and the Michelin
no,
places
no,
and the hole in
no.
the wall. But this was something I was like, all right, I'll come back.
Yeah. No, it's I love that, by the way, because I don't know how many people I've known a lot of people over the years that have worked at the Cheesecake Factory.
My wife too.
Uh
She was bragging
yeah,
about it. She's like, we trained for 2 weeks before we could get on the floor.
their training is insane. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, that menu is wild. Like that
Yeah, it's a
menu
big
is like
menu. It's a little bit
it's a
big.
big, but it's so funny because I actually ate a Cheesecake Factory the last time I was on the East Coast visiting my mom, and it was like, "You want to go to the Cheesecake Factory?" I'm like,
I see
"Sure."
Jim. Good for you, Steve. Love the Cheesecake Factory. I'm telling you, look, I'm gonna write something about it because not, you know, it's like, you know, people are gonna hate out like, oh, you're writing about the Olive Garden. I was like, I don't know. I had a great experience. The food was good. I didn't leave like with heartburn or my stomach hurting. Like it was good.
Oh my gosh. No, that's crazy. That is correct. I love that. So my hospitality or my real-time recap was different. And it was at a FedEx store, actually two
Oh,
different FedEx
see, two
stores.
big companies we're talking
I
about
know.
today.
So I was talking about this a little bit behind the scenes, but I have to mail out some pretty important documents that like can't be replaced. So like we need to make sure stuff gets to the destination, and it's going internationally, and like sometimes you know how international addresses are always kind of weird. You know, you're trying to like make sure like are these exactly the right details? Will it get to that destination? And I was at first at one place and they were super helpful. It was actually just a mail store. They could not have been nicer, like take your time, etc. The FedEx guy came in and he was like, "Do you want me to wait?" And I was like, "No, no, don't wait." So that was nice that he offered to wait. Super, super cool. And then he was like, "Well, I'm going to be at the FedEx store down the street. So if you're there by 4:30, it'll still go out today." I'm like, "Thanks, whatever." So I ended up filling out everything with the guys there, super nice. And then I was like, I think I'm going to take the guy up on the offer. I'm going to go down the street to the FedEx store. I'm like being extra careful because, again, these are documents that can't be replaced. So go to the FedEx store down the street. And even though I had filled it out, I was like, "Hey, can we like just go through this? Can you just please like double check my work?" I would not normally care, but like I care. And they went through everything and they found an issue with the address. Now, I actually think the issue might have been a typo on their side, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take it home with me and then I'll just do some research and then we'll come back and figure it out, or I'll have them send me an airway bill. But again, everybody was so nice. They were so patient. They were so thorough, and something that they could maybe want to be rushed or be like, "Okay, lady, like it's just a package." And it's like, no, it's not just a package.
Important.
So yeah. So it's super simple, but like from the mail store to the FedEx, they were just patient, calm, willing to wait. Bumped into that FedEx guy again. I was like, "Hey, I'm following you." Like we are having a laugh. Um, so it just made that experience so pleasant because I was definitely stressed about it. So, hey, we love it when you have that good feeling of hospitality, and the FedEx store out of all places.
Listen, talk
Right?
about Cheesecake Factory and the FedEx store today, stepping up their games.
Woo! It's good though. I mean, but what does it come down to? It's the human aspect. So
Mhm.
whoever we happen to be interacting with, they are genuinely caring about making sure that we have a good time, whether it's our meal, paying attention to a family dining, to somebody that's you can see is a little bit nervous about sending a package. So it all comes down to the human element.
Well, and it goes right into our quote today, our hospitality
Yes.
quote,
Please lead us on.
where quality is never an accident. It's always the result of an intelligent effort. Right. And
I
I
like
think that's what people were doing. They read the room. They saw what you needed at FedEx. They saw what I needed at Cheesecake Factory. And that's why
Yeah.
we got quality service, because they put in the intelligent effort. I like that
I love
quote.
that. I do too. I thought that was cool. I was trying to remember if we had done it before, but I didn't think so. So I was like, and
No,
even
it's a
if we
good one.
did,
It's a good
it
one.
was so good, it would be worth again to cover. So, wow, that is our
Covered a lot.
show.
Covered a lot
Whew,
today.
whew, I
You
feel like
know,
a year just went by just in the past 37 minutes. You kidding?
well, listen, I love all the stuff we talked about today. I got to try a robot massage out. I feel like I need it. My shoulders are a little tight
Yeah,
today.
I like that
And
idea.
it'd be creepy if someone just like came across a robot and just started to. But I will
I'm
let you all know what we choose. I appreciate the comments that came through. Charleston versus New Orleans. I think Charleston might be the winner. So I'll let you know once I book.
yeah, let us know. That'll be fun and definitely, yeah, that'll. Wait, will you do the show from there, or will we take the show
Zero
offline?
chance. Zero chance. No, I'll be there. I'll be back Friday to Monday.
Oh, you're like zero chance. Whoa,
Kids flying around in
whoa.
the
Yeah, okay.
background. Things will
That would
get
be fun.
thrown.
Are you kidding me? Like we have that. This is a family show, Steve. Okay, family show.
Thanks,
Love
Jim.
it.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks by the way for everybody that joined, commented on the live. I'll be flying Delta tomorrow, so wish me luck.
Good luck.
Anyway, but until next week, right?
See ya.
Bye.